I want to bring in NBC's Aaron Gilchrist in Utah. Peter Baker is chief White House correspondent for the New York Times and an MSNBC political analyst. Ed Davis is former Boston police commissioner who helped lead the manhunt for the Boston Marathon bombers. Aaron, I understand we just got the probable cause affidavit, so bring us up to speed. What does it say?
Yeah, a producer here in Utah with us has been able to obtain some of the documents that have been filed so far. We're still going through some of that information, but it does detail much of what the governor said in the briefing here earlier today. There was some indication of what the officials here hope to be able to charge Mr. Robinson with at some point over the next couple of days. The governor said they do have a few days to finalize the charges that they will bring against Mr. Robinson. At this point, though, we do know a few details about how this arrest came to be. You noted, and the governor said in his remarks here, that it was a family member and a family friend who helped deliver Tyler Robinson to law enforcement in Washington County. Washington County and the area where we believe he was ultimately taken into custody is about a 3.5, 4-hour drive away from where we are at Utah Valley University. And so there was a considerable distance between here and there that Robinson was able to go before he ultimately was brought into custody. These documents, these court documents, also indicate that the arrest of Mr. Robinson was actually made today, as opposed to last night. He was taken into custody last night, but the arrest, the booking photo that we've been able to see apparently happened at some point today. We don't know at this point whether he has been talking. We were told by the governor that there were interviews done with family members and Robinson's roommate in Washington County in the overnight hours, and they were able to get some information that led them to believe he, to some degree, confessed or implied that he committed the shooting here on Wednesday afternoon. And then investigators were also able to look at some messages, they say, between Mr. Robinson and his roommate on his roommate's phone, and there was a reference to a rifle in some of those messages. I want you to hear some of what the governor had to say about that.
The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique.
And so we heard the governor and FBI Director Kash Patel laying out quite a few details, more than we expected to hear from them about the arrest and about the development of this investigation at this point. I think partly to explain to the public why they feel confident that the person that they've arrested is the person who committed the crime here. And Chris, I think it also gives us an idea about what sort of information will be presented when this case goes to trial at some point in the near future.
Aaron, thank you for that. So, Commissioner, you know what it's like to be in the center of a high-profile manhunt. And in the end, the key events were very similar, right, in that you had a video, stills from the video, tips from the public. President Trump actually talked about that this morning. Take a listen.
Inscriptions on the three
It was a minister, and the minister went to a minister who was involved with law enforcement, by the way. And his good friend is a top U.S. Marshal, and they took it from there. And then it was a father got involved, namely his father, and said, "We got to go in." And they, so I understand it. And again, subject to change, but you know, the facts are the facts. We have the person that we think is the person we're looking for. But they drove into the police headquarters, and he's there now.
Commissioner, tell us your thoughts on what investigators laid out today.
Well, Chris, it really was a remarkably transparent press conference today. We got a lot of information that I was not expecting. And some of it was very damning. The conversation with his roommate, for instance, is going to go toward almost a confession of the incident. It seemed as though he was trying to get the roommate to go after and recover the gun. But that's my speculation on it. So that kind of evidence is devastating in a prosecution. But overall, 33 hours is a very short period of time to go from nothing as far as an ID to being able to have this guy in custody. Clearly, his father played an enormous role in this, and he's to be complimented. I cannot imagine the stress that he went through during the course of this process. The bottom line is a very dangerous criminal is off the street, and it was done in record time with great transparency. So I'm very happy with the way this thing worked out.
One of the more interesting pieces of information was about the engravings found on bullet casings. And here's what the governor said about that.
Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao Ciao." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "Catch Fascist," there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this.
I wonder what you make of that, what it tells you in the overall investigation and as they go to begin putting together a case.
Well, for me, first of all, it shows premeditation and a political motive, an extremist that we're dealing with here. But also, some of these things don't make a lot of sense, and it almost seems like there might be some type of psych problem here. It would be hard to drill down into that and get an understanding of what. They're not congruent, those statements. So I don't quite get it, but that's not unusual when you're dealing with somebody that decides that this kind of violence is appropriate, and we're probably right on the edge of psychological breakdown or some type of psych problems.
And that's why they say, let's be clear here, we're continuing our investigation. But in the meantime, Peter, it was unconventional, I think we could say, but not necessarily surprising that President Trump made the arrest announcement, even as he said he might not be getting all the details right. We heard him say that. But let's talk about the context, because Kash Patel has been under a ton of pressure here, so much so that the White House actually put out a statement this morning defending him, saying in part, Director Patel is working night and day on this case. Anyone who doubts his resolve and dedication is using this extremely sad moment in a disgusting act of political gamesmanship. Does the White House see this as vindication for Patel?
Well, certainly better that they've got this man in custody right now than it was last night when people were asking those kinds of questions. Kash Patel, of course, had relatively modest experience, let's say, compared to other FBI directors when he came in. So he was on the hot seat here. This is the first big test in some ways of his leadership. He went there personally. He took this personally. This is somebody who traveled in the same, political circles as he did. And I think obviously he was very relieved this morning at that press conference. First thing he did, of course, was to thank President Trump, which suggests, the focus that he has on making sure that he stays in the president's, best graces. But, we'll see where this goes. Obviously, we only have begun to unearth where this case may take us and what the FBI and local authorities will discover about the shooter and where what it tells us about our politics today. But it's a fascinating moment, you're right, to see the president himself make that announcement almost in a seemingly off-the-cuff kind of way on a morning show.